The fist comes from nowhere. 340 pounds of muscle and bone, driving through the air toward Bruce Lee's head with the kind of force that ends fights before they begin. Bruce doesn't see it coming. No one does. One moment he's walking through a backstage corridor, the next moment violence explodes from the shadows. Bruce's head snaps to the side. Not from the punch connecting, but from a reflexive movement his body makes without conscious thought. The fist passes so close he feels air displacement against his cheek. Half an inch closer, and he would be unconscious on the floor. Maybe worse. Steve McQueen sees it happen from 15 feet away. Sees his security chief, a man he pays to protect him from threats, attack Bruce Lee from behind like a coward. Sees the massive fist that should have ended the confrontation in one blow miss by a margin so thin it seems impossible. And Steve knows, with absolute certainty, that he's about to witness something terrible. The question is who will be destroyed. To understand how this moment arrived, we need to go back 4 hours. Los Angeles, the Aquarius Theater on Sunset Boulevard, early evening, March 1969. The theater is hosting a private screening and demonstration event for Hollywood insiders. Steve McQueen is premiering footage from his upcoming film, Le Mans, and has arranged for Bruce Lee to demonstrate martial arts techniques during the intermission. Steve has been training with Bruce for 2 years now, understands the difference between movie fighting and real combat, and wants his industry colleagues to experience what he's experienced. Bruce arrives at 6 o'clock with Dan Inosanto. They're escorted backstage by Steve's personal security detail, led by a man named Marcus Webb. Marcus is 340 pounds of former college football player turned professional bodyguard. He played defensive line for USC before knee injuries ended his athletic career. Now he works private security for Hollywood's elite, using his size and intimidating presence to keep dangerous situations from developing. Marcus doesn't like Bruce Lee. Never has. From the moment Steve started training with this small Chinese martial artist, Marcus has considered it a waste of time and money. He's watched Bruce demonstrate techniques during Steve's private training sessions, watched Steve praise the speed and precision, and Marcus has remained completely unimpressed. In his worldview, real fighting is about size and aggression. Everything else is performance art for people who've never experienced actual violence. Bruce notices Marcus's hostility immediately but doesn't engage with it. He's encountered this attitude countless times. Large men who've built their identity around physical dominance, who see someone Bruce's size as inherently inferior, who dismiss martial arts as dancing until reality corrects their understanding. Bruce has learned that words rarely change these minds. Only direct experience does. The screening goes well. 300 Hollywood professionals watching Steve's racing footage, appreciating the cinematography and authenticity. During intermission, Bruce takes the stage with Dan. They demonstrate Wing Chun techniques, Jeet Kune Do principles, the famous one-inch punch that sends a volunteer stumbling backward despite minimal visible movement. The audience responds with genuine amazement. These aren't martial arts enthusiasts. These are directors, producers, studio executives who understand visual impact and physical capability. They recognize something extraordinary when they see it. Marcus watches from the wings with undisguised contempt. Parlor tricks, he thinks. Volunteers who cooperate. Demonstrations that would collapse against real resistance. He's seen bar fighters, street brawlers, actual dangerous men. This Chinese guy might be quick, but quick doesn't matter when 340 pounds comes at you with intent. After the demonstration, Bruce and Dan head backstage to collect their things. Steve is still in the theater, talking with producers and financiers. Marcus is supposed to be coordinating security for Steve's departure, but instead he follows Bruce down the corridor toward the dressing rooms. His opportunity comes when Dan splits off to use the restroom, leaving Bruce alone in the hallway. Marcus has been drinking. Not heavily, but enough that the professional restraint he normally maintains has eroded. Enough that the resentment he's felt watching Steve praise this martial artist has become active anger. He makes his decision. He's going to show Steve what real fighting looks like. He's going to demonstrate that size and aggression beat speed and technique. He's going to put this kung fu dancer on the floor and prove that Marcus Webb, not Bruce Lee, is the dangerous man Steve should be learning from. And because Marcus is fundamentally a coward despite his size, he decides not to challenge Bruce openly. He decides to attack from behind, to use surprise to guarantee his dominance, to end this before Bruce's supposedly legendary speed can become a factor. Which brings us back to this moment. The corridor, the attack, the fist that nearly connected. Bruce spins to face his attacker, and his expression shows something the few people who know him well would recognize immediately. Not fear, not anger, absolute focus. The kind of concentration that comes from genuine survival instinct activating. Marcus is already throwing his second punch. A massive overhand right aimed at Bruce's face. He's committed now. No backing down. He's going to overwhelm this little man with pure aggression and size. Bruce doesn't try to block the punch, doesn't try to match force with force. He simply isn't where the punch is going. His head movement is minimal, economical, just enough displacement to make 340 pounds of power hit nothing but air. Steve McQueen has reached the corridor now, drawn by the sound of the first punch missing. He sees Marcus, his trusted security chief, attacking Bruce, sees the rage on Marcus's face, sees the calculated calm on Bruce's, and Steve knows Marcus has made a catastrophic mistake. If you're watching this story unfold and feeling the tension of what happens when surprise attacks meet genuine skill, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. This moment, witnessed by Hollywood's biggest star, almost stayed buried because of what it revealed about violence and capability. Subscribe so you don't miss how this ends. Marcus throws a combination now. Left jab, right cross, left hook. He's not a trained boxer, but he's been in enough fights to understand basic striking, and every punch carries the weight and power of his massive frame. Any one of these strikes connecting would seriously hurt Bruce. None of them connect. Bruce is moving in ways Marcus has never seen. Not jumping back to create distance, not running away from the assault. Moving in angles, slipping punches by margins measured in inches, staying close enough to counterattack but far enough that Marcus's power can't land. Marcus switches tactics. He rushes forward, arms outstretched, trying to grab Bruce. Once he gets his hands on this little man, once he can use his weight advantage, this will be over. He'll slam Bruce into the wall, pin him, choke him, prove definitively that size wins. His hands close on air. Bruce has shifted inside Marcus's reaching arms, inside his guard, closer to Marcus's body than the big man expected. And Bruce's elbow moves. The strike is short, sharp, precise. Bruce's elbow catches Marcus's ribs with surgical accuracy. Not the floating ribs that might break. The intercostal space between ribs where nerves cluster. The impact sends a shock through Marcus's nervous system that he's never experienced. For the first time since the attack began, Marcus feels something other than rage. He feels pain. Real pain. The kind that tells you your body is vulnerable in ways you didn't understand. He stumbles backward, hand going to his ribs, trying to process what just happened. That little strike shouldn't have hurt this much, shouldn't have affected him at all through the muscle mass he's built. But it did. Bruce doesn't pursue, doesn't press the advantage. He simply resets to center, hands relaxed, waiting, giving Marcus the opportunity to stop this before it gets worse. But Marcus's ego won't allow stopping. He's the security chief, the protector, the dangerous man. He can't be hurt by someone half his size, can't be made to look weak in front of Steve McQueen. He has to win this, has to destroy this martial artist or lose everything he's built his identity on. He charges again, this time with no technique, no strategy. Just bull-rushing forward with all 340 pounds, trying to use mass and momentum to overwhelm. Bruce times it perfectly. As Marcus commits his weight forward, Bruce's hand moves to Marcus's shoulder. Not pushing, not striking, just touching. But that touch, combined with Marcus's momentum and Bruce's perfect understanding of balance and structure, creates an effect that physics makes inevitable. Marcus's charge becomes a stumble. His balance disappears. His massive body, moving with all that momentum, can't stop or redirect. He careens past Bruce, crashes shoulder first into the concrete wall of the corridor with a sound that makes Steve McQueen wince. Marcus bounces off the wall, spins, tries to reset. His shoulder is screaming pain. His ribs are throbbing. His breathing is labored. But his pride won't let him quit. Bruce can see it in Marcus's eyes. This man is going to keep attacking until someone stops him permanently, or he literally can't continue. There's no reasoning with this kind of rage, this kind of ego. The only way this ends is through complete domination. Marcus throws a wild haymaker. His last functional attack. All his remaining strength behind it. If it connects, it will do serious damage. Bruce is 135 pounds. This punch carries the force of 340 pounds of desperate fury. Bruce intercepts the punch mid-flight. His hand wraps around Marcus's wrist, not grabbing hard, just controlling the trajectory. And in the same continuous motion, Bruce steps inside, turns, and executes a throw that uses Marcus's own power and weight against him. The technique is pure Jeet Kune Do. No wasted movement, no unnecessary force, just perfect application of leverage and timing. Marcus's 340-pound body lifts slightly off the ground and rotates, his momentum redirected by someone who understands physics better than Marcus understands aggression. Marcus hits the floor hard. The impact drives air from his lungs. His head bounces slightly on the concrete. For a moment he just lies there, stunned, trying to remember how to breathe. Bruce stands over him, not in triumph, in readiness. If Marcus gets up, if he continues attacking, Bruce will defend himself again. But the preference, the hope, is that this is over. Steve McQueen has been frozen through all of this. Frozen by shock at Marcus's attack. Frozen by what he's witnessing. He's trained with Bruce for 2 years, knows Bruce is fast, knows he's skilled. But this is different. This isn't demonstration. This is survival. This is Bruce Lee fighting for real against someone trying to genuinely hurt him. And Marcus, the man Steve pays precisely because he's dangerous, just got completely dismantled. Marcus tries to get up, gets to his hands and knees. His body is screaming at him. Ribs damaged, shoulder injured, head ringing from the impact with the wall and the floor. But his ego still demands he continue, still insists he can't lose to someone Bruce's size. He pushes himself upright, swaying, raising his fists in some approximation of a fighting stance. His eyes are unfocused. He's running on rage and ego alone. Bruce doesn't wait for another attack. He closes the distance in 2 quick steps and his hand moves to Marcus's solar plexus. The strike is controlled, measured, not trying to cause permanent damage, just trying to end this before Marcus hurts himself worse. The impact is precise. Marcus's diaphragm spasms. His breathing stops. His legs buckle. He sinks back to the floor, this time staying down, both hands pressed to his chest, pulling in desperate gasps of air. The fight is over. Lasted maybe 45 seconds from the initial surprise attack to this moment. 45 seconds that completely destroyed Marcus Webb's understanding of combat, of size, of what makes someone dangerous. Steve McQueen walks slowly toward them. His face shows multiple emotions competing for dominance. Anger at Marcus for attacking his friend. Shock at what he just witnessed. Something else. Something like fear. Fear at how easily Bruce handled a genuine threat. Fear at understanding that the man he's been training with is far more dangerous than Steve had fully grasped. Bruce is breathing slightly harder than normal but otherwise looks completely composed. His clothes aren't even disheveled. Meanwhile, Marcus is on the floor, gasping, injured, defeated. "Bruce," Steve says, and his voice carries weight that wasn't there before. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Marcus works for me. This is my responsibility." "It's not your responsibility," Bruce responds quietly. "Marcus made his own choice. He attacked from behind because he knew he couldn't win face-to-face. That's not your fault." Before I continue with what Steve McQueen learned from witnessing this, I need to know you're feeling this story. Drop a comment, tell us where in the world you're watching from and whether this attack from behind scenario is revealing something about real danger versus demonstration. Because what happens next, the conversation between Steve and Bruce, this is where Hollywood's toughest guy learns what tough really means. Steve looks down at Marcus with something close to contempt. "You attacked him from behind. Like a coward. After everything I've told you about Bruce, about respect, about honor. You attacked him from behind." Marcus can't respond, still trying to breathe normally, still processing that he just got destroyed by someone he'd dismissed as a performer. Dan Inosanto returns from the restroom, sees the scene, immediately understands what happened. He moves to Bruce's side. "You okay?" "I'm fine," Bruce confirms. Marcus decided he needed to test his theories about size beating speed. "How'd that work out for him?" Dan asks, though the answer is obvious. Steve is pacing now, working through his anger and shock. "I pay you to protect me," he says to Marcus. "And you attack my friend, my teacher. You could have seriously hurt him. Could have killed him with that first punch if it had connected." That first punch, Bruce says calmly, was always going to miss. Not through luck, through awareness. I heard him coming, heard his breathing change, felt the air move. By the time his fist was in motion, I was already moving. The attack failed the moment he decided to make it because he was attacking with ego instead of understanding. Steve stops pacing, looks at Bruce. "You heard him coming, before he attacked." "Always be aware of your surroundings," Bruce explains, "especially when someone nearby is hostile. Marcus has been radiating hostility all evening. I knew there was possibility he might act on it. I didn't know when or how, but I was prepared for something." This is a teaching moment. Steve recognizes it. Bruce isn't just explaining what happened. He's demonstrating a principle. Real awareness. Real preparedness. Not paranoia, not constant tension. Just cultivated sensitivity to environment and threat. Marcus has recovered enough to speak, though his voice is rough. "You got lucky. Caught me off guard with that rib shot." Bruce looks down at him with no anger, no triumph. Just patience. "Marcus, I didn't catch you off guard. You were off guard from the beginning because you attacked without understanding what you were attacking. You saw my size and assumed that made you superior. You saw demonstrations and assumed that made combat fake. You built your confidence on assumptions instead of knowledge. Those assumptions just got corrected by reality." "I'm bigger," Marcus argues, still not accepting. "Stronger. I've been in real fights." "And you lost this one in the first 3 seconds," Bruce responds. "The moment your surprise attack failed, the fight was over. Everything after was just you refusing to accept what your body already knew. That size and strength, while advantages, are not guarantees. That real combat isn't about who's bigger. It's about who understands movement, timing, structure, and awareness more completely." Steve helps Marcus to his feet, though there's no gentleness in the gesture. "You're fired," Steve says flatly. "Effective immediately. I can't have someone on my security team who attacks people from behind, who lets ego override judgment, who can't recognize when they're outmatched." "Steve, come on," Marcus tries to argue, but Steve cuts him off. "No, you made your choice. You thought you were tough, thought you were dangerous. Bruce just showed you what actually dangerous looks like. And it doesn't come from a gym or from size. It comes from understanding combat at a level you've never even considered. You're done." Marcus wants to argue more but can't find the words. He limps away down the corridor holding his ribs, his entire worldview shattered along with his pride. Steve watches him go, then turns to Bruce. "I've been training with you for 2 years. I thought I understood what you could do. But watching you handle a genuine attack, a surprise attack from someone trying to hurt you, that was different. That was real. That's why I don't like demonstrations," Bruce says. "Demonstrations show technique in controlled environments. They're valuable for learning, but they don't capture the reality of actual combat. What just happened, Marcus attacking with full intent, that's reality. And reality requires different responses than demonstration allows." "You weren't even scared," Steve observes. "He attacked you from behind and you weren't scared at all." "Fear is emotional reaction to unexpected danger," Bruce explains, "but I expected potential danger from Marcus. When the attack came, there was no surprise to generate fear, just immediate response based on training and awareness. Fear happens when your mind is unprepared. Calm happens when your mind is ready." Dan speaks up. "Bruce, your ribs okay? That first punch came close." "Close only matters with grenades." Bruce smiles slightly. "Punches either connect or they don't. That one didn't. My ribs are fine." Steve is still processing everything. "Marcus outweighed you by 200 pounds, had surprise advantage, attacked with genuine intent to hurt you, and you handled him like he was a beginner." "He is a beginner," Bruce responds. "Not in fighting. He's probably been in dozens of fights. But in understanding combat beyond size and aggression, he's a beginner. He knows how to use his physical advantages. He doesn't know what to do when those advantages get neutralized. That's the difference between someone who fights and someone who understands fighting." They walk back toward the theater in silence. Steve is thinking about everything he just witnessed, about what it means, about the difference between movie tough and real dangerous, about the fact that Bruce Lee, the man he's been learning from, just survived a surprise attack that could have killed him and made it look almost easy. When they reach the theater entrance, Steve stops. "Bruce, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." "Always," Bruce confirms. "Could you have killed Marcus, if you'd wanted to? If that had been your intent instead of just defending yourself?" Bruce considers the question carefully before answering. Yes, multiple moments during that confrontation where a different choice, a different target, would have caused permanent damage or death. The elbow to his ribs could have been to his throat. The strike to his solar plexus could have been to his heart with different force. The throw could have directed his head into the wall instead of his shoulder. Combat gives you options. The choice of which option to take, that's where character and intent determine outcome. And you chose not to seriously hurt him even though he was trying to seriously hurt you. "Marcus is ignorant, not evil," Bruce says. "Ignorance can be corrected through experience. Evil requires different response. Marcus got the experience he needed. Hopefully he'll learn from it. If he doesn't, that's his choice. But I saw no reason to cause permanent damage over ego and misunderstanding." Steve shakes his head in something close to awe. "You're a better man than I am. If someone attacked me from behind like that, I'd want to destroy them." "Wanting to and choosing to are different things," Bruce responds. "Anger is natural. Revenge is natural. But natural doesn't mean necessary. Marcus is already destroyed. His ego, his confidence, his understanding of himself is dangerous. All destroyed. What would physical destruction add except cruelty?" This is the lesson Steve McQueen takes from that night. Not just that Bruce Lee can fight. Steve already knew that. The lesson is about control, about choosing response instead of reacting with emotion, about being dangerous enough to destroy but evolved enough to show restraint. That's the truth they never taught in Hollywood or security circles or anywhere size and aggression are worshipped as primary virtues. That real danger isn't about capacity for violence. It's about control of that capacity, about choosing when to apply it and when to show mercy. If this story revealed something about the difference between tough and dangerous, between size and skill, between reaction and choice, subscribe so you never miss these truths. Comment below. Tell us where you're watching from and what this changed in your understanding. Let's build this community one lesson at a time. The incident stays quiet. Steve McQueen doesn't publicize it. Bruce Lee certainly doesn't talk about it. Marcus Webb disappears from Hollywood security circles, last heard working construction in Nevada. But the story spreads through whispers among those who were there or heard from those who were. Years later, Steve McQueen talks about Bruce Lee in interviews after Bruce's death. He never mentions the specific incident with Marcus, but he tells a story that people who know the full context understand completely. "Bruce was the most dangerous man I ever met. Not because he wanted to hurt people. Because he could hurt people and chose not to. I saw him handle a genuine threat once. Someone who attacked him with full intent. And Bruce neutralized that threat without hatred, without revenge, without unnecessary violence. Just pure technical skill and ethical restraint. That combination, danger plus control, that's what made him unique. Anyone can be violent. Bruce was violence under complete philosophical governance." Marcus Webb eventually finds his way to a martial arts school in Arizona. Not to become a fighter, to understand what happened to him that night in the corridor. He trains for years, never competing, never trying to prove anything, just trying to comprehend how someone half his size made him completely helpless. He never achieves Bruce Lee's level. Nobody does. But he achieves something more valuable. Understanding of his own limitations and respect for knowledge beyond size. The attack that should have destroyed Bruce Lee instead destroyed the ignorance of everyone who witnessed it. Destroyed the comfortable belief that big and aggressive equals dangerous. Destroyed the assumption that surprise attacks guarantee victory. Destroyed the Hollywood mythology about toughness and replaced it with something more true. 340 pounds of surprise attack met awareness and skill and restraint. What got destroyed wasn't Bruce Lee's body. What got destroyed was the illusion that size matters more than understanding, that surprise matters more than preparedness, that violence matters more than control. Marcus Webb attacked the most dangerous man in Hollywood and discovered that dangerous isn't about hurting people. It's about being capable of hurting people and choosing not to. That's the lesson. That's what Steve McQueen witnessed. That's what got destroyed in that corridor. Not a body. a belief system that needed destroying.